Sustained flight over an open-air assembly includes hovering above the heads of persons gathered in an open-air assembly, flying back and forth over an open-air assembly, or circling above the assembly in such a way that the drone remains above some parts of the assembly. This operation does not include a brief one-time transiting over the gathering, where the transit is merely incidental to a point-to-point operation unrelated to the assembly.
For Category 4, we have additional requirements. Category 4, sUAS with airworthy certificates. For Category 4 operations, sUAS that have obtained airworthiness certification under 14 CFR Part 21 may operate over people or moving vehicles, so long as such operations are not prohibited by the airworthiness certificate or operating limitations. The aircraft must be maintained or altered as prescribed in the current manufacturer's maintenance manual or instructions for continued airworthiness, inspected in accordance with the manufacturer instructions or instructions acceptable to the administrator. The remote PIC must operate the small UAS in accordance with the operating limitations specified in the approved flight manual. Ensure any maintenance or alterations are performed by someone familiar with the manufacturer's instructions, who has the basic knowledge and skills appropriate to perform the work, who has the knowledge, skill, and appropriate equipment to perform the maintenance action, and who has not been found lacking in competence, knowledge, or skill by the administrator. Retain maintenance records for at least 1 year, or until the maintenance is repeated or superseded by other work. Retain and transfer records documenting the status of life-limited parts, compliance with airworthiness directives, and inspection status with ownership of the small UAS transfers. Open-air assembly requirements. For Categories 1, 2, or 4 operations, sustained flight over open-air assemblies is restricted to sUAS that meet the requirements of 14 CFR 89.110, Standard Remote Identification UAS, or 14 CFR 89.11SA, Limited Remote Identification UAS. The remote PIC must assess whether the operational area would be considered an open-air assembly prior to conducting flight operations. FAA employs a case-by-case approach to determining how to apply the term open-air assembly. An open-air assembly typically includes large groups of people, usually 15 to 20 people or greater. Sustained flight over an open-air assembly includes hovering overhead, flying back and forth, or circling in such a way that the sUAS remains above some part of the assembly. Legal interpretations and opinions regarding open-air assemblies may be found on the FAA website.
The RPIC must determine that they are using the right category of sUAS operation and perform all recommended pre-flight actions, including a pre-flight assessment that accounts for the additional risk inherent in operations over people. Verify that the sUAS is properly labeled for Category 2 and 3 operations. And for Category 2 and 3 operations, verify that the DOC has been accepted by the FAA. Visit the resources page for the training at FAAsafety.gov for the FAA UAS doc website, where you can confirm that a UAS serial number is listed in an FAA-approved Declaration of Compliance, or DOC.